Okay, we should be good. All right, we're good to go, Fred.
Okay, thank you. The first thing I want to talk about tonight is the Renew Cumberland Grant Funds, the status of everything. And as it turns out, we've had 3 drawdowns. We completed a 3rd drawdown last week, which was unexpected. The county actually had some monies left over from other projects. I received an email from Kirk Stoner and he asked if we had any unmet needs. So we did have about $2,100 in additional disinfectant spray and also PPE and other equipment that we had purchased from the end of August up until mid-November. So we ended up receiving an additional $2,100 from Renew Cumberland. Kirk Stoner has called me. We submitted all 3 drawdowns last week. Everything is in. So it has all been submitted over to the county finance department, the controller's office. And we should be receiving a check for all funds minus the $15,000 that they are fronting to buy the aeroclave. So we should see around $50,000 as a result of this. And the aeroclave was also ordered. Kirk confirmed that the county has ordered that and will pay for it with our Renew Cumberland grant funds. So when we receive this check, that will exhaust our Renew Cumberland grant monies. It will also help us because all this money that we have out is, been fronted by the Borough General Fund at a tough time of the year. And so getting the reimbursement check from the county will be more than welcome. While we're on the subject of reimbursement checks, MOPEC has released Jason Brady's reimbursement to us, and that will be about $10,500 coming in on top of the Renew Cumberland monies. So it will most likely hit us the 1st or 2nd week of December, those 2 checks. Plans for the renovation of the borough office. Tucky was in today, took some final measurements, and they would like permission to close the borough office on December 9th, 10th, and 11th so that they could tear the wall and the doorway out, make the renovations and make the movements that are necessary and have as much of the dirty work done so that when we reopen the following week, it might be just things like painting and flooring that have to be done. They might even get all that in the 3 days that we're closed. So Scott, in the regular session, we'll need a motion to approve or disapprove the request to do a 3-day closure of the office. Now, tonight I'm going to ask for permission to close the office irregardless, because I think the virus has now reached a point where I have a concern for the safety of our employees. I've heard from another nearby township today that has a number of employees infected, including a plant operator. And so it's starting to hit home. We've already had 2 employees who have been out regarding the virus. And so it's reached a point where I think we need to consider closing the borough office, also closing our public works office, closing our water and sewer plants, and also consider closing the trailhead. The trailhead normally slows down in the winter months. I think we're at that point where we need to do something. We did receive some guidance today from the Department of Health, and I sent that out to you late today. It's the latest guidance. And what is happening right now is a number of municipalities are taking steps to enact temporary emergency ordinances to govern wearing of masks, governing, Christmas parties and congregations and things like that. So please look that information over. It's gone out to you late today.
When do you want that effective?
Well, I think we should talk about it in regular session. I have it on my manager's report, but
Yeah.
frankly, the sooner the better. I don't want to put the mayor on the spot, but I think the police chief and mayor have already done some actions respective to the police department.
It's foyers closed, front doors locked. Anyone who comes to the front door, something that could be handled just speaking to an officer, that's done out on the sidewalk. Anyone who has to come into the station has to wear a mask. And unless it's absolutely necessary, they don't get by the foyer. That's basically where we are.
I mean, are we closed Friday? We're open Friday.
No, we're closed.
I mean, why not? Let's just do Monday. I mean,
That'll be fine.
obviously we'll discuss it, but
Okay, the only other thing I'd like to say in relation to Renew Cumberland grant funds, we did receive the TV and equipment. And although it's been delayed, it was installed today. So there is a 70-inch TV now in the meeting room. We are in the process of getting everything programmed and hooked up to it.
Great.
back real quick, back to the closing of the office. If we do that, we don't need to close it for construction.
Well, one would take care of the other. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The next item, we have a need to buy tires for the skid loader. I went down and looked, and the tires on it are bad. They are very worn down. They were the original tires that came with the machine about 2.5 years ago. So if you know anything about skid loaders, they don't turn like a car. They pivot, and it's a tremendous wear on the tires. Tires for those machines wear out very fast. So we do have a price from Barrick Tire, approximately $900 to put 4 heavy tread tires on the skid loader. And with winter coming, we use it for plowing and so forth. So I don't see that there's any alternative. Harry did give us a good price on the tires.
That would come from our highway aid.
Correct. The other item I want to bring up is we have a final pay request. Everything is now complete for the trailhead. We have a request in the amount of $22,110 from Lobar. So if council would approve this tonight, what happens is the pay request will get sent over to Tourism Bureau, and they will release the funds, the grant funds for the project. Not sure if they'll release the funds to us or pay Lobar direct. I'll have to check and find out.
What was that amount again?
$22,110.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, also keeping in line with the trailhead and discussion on the trailhead, Jack contacted me regarding the drinking fountain and asked that I know if the drinking fountain was broken. And I said, yes, it had been broken, had been damaged years ago. And previous council, I took a price to them for a new drinking fountain, and the council said, no way, it was too much money. Just keep it out of service. So we have. But Jack asked if I could do a little bit of research. There are actually some drinking fountains that if you're going to replace a fountain, my recommendation is that the newest type of fountain, and it would be ideal for that application, is a 2-part machine that is a drinking fountain as you know it. And also it has a receptacle that you could put a thermos bottle or a water bottle on and fill your water bottle directly. I think that's a feature that a lot of people using a trail would use. Now, Many of you will say, well, that's, contrary to us trying to sell bottled water from a machine. And that's true, it is, but I think it's a nice convenient item for people using the trail. Again, the cost of the item is a basic water fountain, basic drinking fountain, is about $2,300. And the price of the combined unit, I believe, is around $3,400, $3,372. And both of these are LK drinking fountains, which are a very superior model. They're made for outdoor applications, and they're made for recreation areas. So I bring it out. I'm not looking for a motion tonight. I know you probably would like to think about it, but please give some thought to, we spent a lot of time and money out at the trail and made a lot of improvements. And I think the drinking fountain is something that many people look forward to. It's a nice, convenient item. The one thing about it is we have to make sure that it can be winterized and drained. These things have to be taken out of service, obviously, in the winter, and they have to have a mechanism that you can thoroughly drain the fountain. So you would probably pay more for that type of fountain that can be drained easily.
Just so to add a little to that, the reason I had raised it with Fred was that I got a call from Jim Mader with the CBRTC asking when we were going to fix it. And I said I didn't know anything, and I contacted Fred, and he told you the rest of the story. So I've tried to contact Ed Sinkovitz, who's the recreation chair, and I think this falls in his jurisdiction. As I understand, there's some sort of recreation budget that this could fit into. I sent him a couple of emails, haven't heard back yet, but hope to. What I was suggesting in the emails to him is maybe we can see if the CBRTC would pay for it. They have. I'm on the board now, and every month their treasurer gets up and he starts off with, "We've got a load of money. We got a terrific amount of money." He's very proud of all the money that they've been able to accumulate and don't seem to spend. So as soon as I get a chance to get with Ed, who's also on the board, I think we can propose, I'm not sure it'll be successful, but we can certainly propose to them that they do this, given all the things that we've been doing in the past year or so and longer to improve the trail. So that's kind of the way I think we could handle it. We just need to make that pitch, and I think Ed's the right guy to do that. So
along those lines, I mean, there's no urgency because it's going to be shut down until March or April anyways.
Right.
The only thing I would say is if we probably want to consider steering clear of the drinking fountain part and just do a bottle filling station. With COVID, that's one of the worst things you can have is a drinking fountain. So
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think this bottle filler, it's pretty state of the art. It's a nice amenity. Bicyclists really like that stuff. Marginally, it'll make the place a little bit more interesting to people. So I don't know if we can convince the CBRTC guys to buy it, but if we can get two of their board members to suggest it, maybe that'll help.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, if you're looking just for the fountain, the bottle fill, that would be $2,339, which is quite a bit less.
Okay.
Okay, the next item that we have to discuss would be the adoption of the budgets. Are there any changes or questions on the budgets? They have been advertised. We have had no comments from the public, adverse or pro, regarding the budgets. So, but they have been advertised and now are ready for adoption.
Trying to see. So are we taking action on that tonight? So
Yes, you're in it. Well, you can. I mean, you can take action anytime, Scott, up until December 31st. If you'd
Okay.
like to do it tonight, then our next step is to enact the tax ordinance on December 15th.
The only change that I feel that we need to make is under salaries. You didn't give yourself a raise, and I think I've heard from a couple members of council that felt that that's important as well. So, I feel like that's something that we should probably look at.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I will go on record as saying I'm very comfortable with my salary. I would like to thank council, number one, that you did not lay anyone off, myself included, over this past year. You certainly could have done that. I receive healthcare benefits. I see those healthcare benefit bills when they come in. I am happy for my salary and my benefits. I don't need a raise. I'm very happy where I am. Think about the other employees, what you want to do for the other employees. I have no problem with that. But I see the bills when they come in. A couple things on healthcare. What many municipalities are doing now is they are just insuring the employee and the spouse. Now, we can't do that with our police because we have a contract. But for any other new hires, give this some consideration. If they want to add children, the new employee pays to add his children to the plan. Some of these family plans are in excess of $2,000 a month. Some of the single plans are still in the $500 to $600 range, but the prices have really gone up now. I don't know what will happen here when we go to renew this year, but we're looking at just every month a $16,000 healthcare bill. Now we share that with water and sewer, but still that's a lot of money every month to come up with. So just something to think about.
We should look at everything, but I mean, especially in the age of COVID, healthcare benefits are incredibly important for people. I would hope we could look elsewhere. That's just my opinion.
The other thing I want to make mention is, we are working towards this new municipal building. And if you add up, the cost of a lease, you're looking at about $30,000 to $35,000 a year. Well, you can see what happened this year with our budget. We were doing really well. And then the pandemic came. And now we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Now, granted, we have money coming to us that is owed to us and we're going to be reimbursed. But put yourselves in Mr. Gobin's shoes. He's fronting a lot of money to build this building. And we have an obligation to make a lease payment to him every month. I would like to suggest that council look at a lease fund that would be subsidized by a millage assessment. Not rely on your general fund budget, just look at what the lease would cost and whether it's a $500,000 or $250,000, levy that and set that money aside to pay the rent, pay the lease. Because I think it's very important to Mr. Gobin that he is repaid. And I think if we could give him some assurance to that end as we negotiate the lease, I think he might look more favorably upon us. It's been a bad year for him financially. I talk to Richard quite often, and I'm not going to get into some of the personal things, but he's had some adversities this year, and frankly, I'm happy that he's even talking to us about a municipal building. So I would just encourage you to think about what can happen to our general fund budget and what happened this year, and why we should have money earmarked solely for the purpose of repaying that lease. I think it's just good business practice. I think it's the right thing to do. I'm not in favor of, going out raising taxes. But if we're going to do this, you've heard me say this many times, the borough of Newville has no indebtedness. Please don't look at this lease in that sense that we did not have to go to the Department of Community Affairs to have our debt approved. Mr. Gobin is acting as the bank. We don't have to go to the Department of Community Affairs. But if this was the other case, if this was a case that we were going to the Department of Community Affairs to pay a bank, the Department of Community Affairs would look at our financial records and say, you're not getting a dime unless you set aside some money in your millage to pay for this debt. They would absolutely insist upon it.
So kind of like the lighting tax, there would be a separate tax. Does it have to be a separate tax, or can it just?
Under the borough code, we can levy money for debts. We can levy money for debt that's approved by the Department of Community Affairs. But in this case, we're not going to go to it's not going to be a general obligation borrowing. It's a lease, private lease like we would make with Hoffman Ford for a truck. We don't have to have approval for that under the Pennsylvania Unit Debt Act. But, and there is no provision for us to enact a tax that could go to pay for a municipal building. So I would suggest that you look at setting aside within the general millage levy a tax, whether it's $0.25 mil or $0.5 mil, whatever you need. And remember, you're already paying $1,000 a month for the police station. There's $12,000 a year that you can apply towards this lease. But I think you need to look at something set aside that would, when our tax money comes in March, the first check that we cut goes into that rental fund. And we have money set aside to pay every month we pay Mr. Gobin a check from that fund.
So it's not an increase, it's just a set aside from the current tax level. Okay.
I think you need to look at your budget and determine, can you cut some money in your budget to pay for this? Now, remember, we do have about $10,000 unallocated in our budget that could be applied with the 12,000. You're about $10,000 away from having enough money to do your lease. If the things should go through with Ship Daddy, our assessed valuation's improving. The higher assessed valuation of the town means more taxes for the borough. So I would just encourage council to set aside some funds. I don't want to be in a position of having to call Mr. Gobin and say, look, we're waiting on a check to come from Cumberland County. We can't pay you the rent this month. And I don't think any of you would either. I mean, he's doing us a tremendous service to the town. And our service should be that we pay him promptly every month.
And you're not asking for us to do that with this budget.
No,
Just
because I think by the time, if we're lucky, this time next year, we might be moving in. You might have a month, maybe
Right.
2 months rent at the
Okay.
most. But for the following year, it's something that I would really encourage you to consider.
Okay.
And start looking at other alternatives. Maybe there's something else. Now, I do want to tell you this. I got a disturbing email from the folks at Concord Printing who do our occupational assessment taxes. And we are the only municipality in the county that still does an occupational assessment tax. So they have let the person go who has done all their tax billing. They no longer employ a person who takes out raw data from Cumberland County and translates it into a tax bill and then prints a tax bill. And simply because you can see out of 33 municipalities, they have one account, Newville Borough. So can they afford to pay a person? Probably not. So that position has been eliminated. I don't know where to go. I talked to the county tax bureau today to see if they had any suggestions, and they said, this is a thing of the past. No one levies an occupational assessment. Many don't even do the per capita tax anymore. So it's something that we're going to have to look at long and hard at, because how are you going to generate the bills if you don't have a printing company to do that work for you? Now, one thing about the occupational assessment tax is it generates about $6,000 a year of income if everyone paid. Keep in mind, you pay about $1,200 for your tax bills to be printed, and you pay for the mailing of those bills. So just in your printing and mailing cost, you have $1,500 off of that profit. The collection of this tax is anywhere from 45 to 50%. Most of the tax, at least half of it every year, gets turned over to G.H. Harris, the delinquent tax collector. Some of it we see, some of it we don't see. This is a tax on people who are largely transient, and those people, once we lose them from the borough, we can't find them, and it's hard to chase after them for the tax money. So this might be something that when you look at the profit that you had off this tax, when you look at the delinquency rate of the tax, it might be wise just to look in your budget and say, look, we need to cut this $6,000 out of our budget.
In reality, that 6,000 is only 3 about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the council in the past insisted that we have this tax because it was looked upon as a tax on everyone, not only homeowners, but the renters as well. And so in that respect, that's why the tax was maintained all these years.
So we'll have a problem printing these taxes for next year, right?
We'll, unless we can find another printing company, and the county has offered to assist me, they're going to look, see if they can find someone. They have a company that does their printing, but it's a whole different database. It's based upon assessed valuations of properties, not people's jobs and income.
Right.
So it's a totally different database, but even the county doesn't levy an occupational tax. School districts did at one time, and then Act 511 was amended. They were given the ability to raise their earned income tax, and away went the occupational and per capita tax. Mm-hmm. If we could increase our earned income tax, you could lower your property taxes. And remember, I suggested this about 2 years ago, that we should look into home rule. Not just, because of the obvious governing advantages, but because under home rule, you can really develop your own tax base. If you want to base it upon income, you can base it upon income. If you want to give property owners a break, you can give property owners a break. But many municipalities have looked at home rule for this exact same reason right here. Their options in terms of raising money and revenues just gets slimmer and slimmer every budget year.
That's probably a 2-year process in itself.
It is, and it's a process that is largely governed and dictated by your citizens. It's
right.
You create a home rule charter study committee, and people are put on the ballot to do the study, and they take it from there. But I would tell you that if you sat down and talked to Tim Scott and the borough manager in Carlisle Borough, they will tell you that much of their home rule process this time was driven by their need to generate some revenues for large infrastructure projects in Carlisle. And the only way they could do that was by increasing their earned income tax, because their property taxes were nearing their limit. So I think that you would find out from the Carlisle officials that home rule is helping them generate new revenue. Anything else on the 2021 budgets? Couple of things real quick. Again, the reimbursement is coming to us from Renew Cumberland. The MOPEC reimbursement is due, and one piece of good news, December is always a strong EIT month. It's our last month for EIT. It's usually anywhere between $12,000 and $18,000. So if all those revenues come together and align, we could have a very good month of anywhere from $73,000 to $75,000 in revenues, which will really help us finish up on a positive note. We have finished up the work on North Corporation Street. All the engineering work is done on that. Council has $100,000 in block grant money to spend. So today I ordered the prevailing wage rate request for that project. We should have it in a few weeks. Once we have the prevailing wage rate determination, we can go to bid. My thought is that we advertise in January, open bids at the end of January, review the bids at the February work session, and then make a recommendation to award at the February council meeting with an authorization based upon temperature, if temperatures are okay, a start date for the contractor of April 1st with a finish date of June 30th. Any questions on that project?
Do you need a motion for that, or?
I would say not at this point. If it might be at the December meeting that once I have the prevailing wage rate authorization, then we can move. Because it's all time sensitive. That wage rate is only good for so many months. I would hate to see us jump the gun and then have to ask for a new wage rate and change everything midway through. I'd like to call your attention to a couple of things at the end of this year that need to be done and can be done once we receive our revenues, hopefully here in early December. Under the police contract, we have an obligation to pay the officers for Class A leather. This is special leather that accompanies their dress uniforms. The chief's estimate for this is $1,200. We also need Class A uniforms for Officer Gutschall and Officer Brady. The estimate that I have heard on this would be about $1,500. We need to make our annual.
Is it a piece, Fred, or is it all total 1,500?
I think it's all total, but
Okay.
again, I won't know until the chief actually orders these items from Fromm's, and
Okay.
It's getting very difficult to get uniform items. The annual donation to John Graham Library, which you make every year, is $500. The annual donation to the Big Spring Senior Center is a $500 donation. And then the mayor makes his donation of $1,000 to the police department. And he would like to earmark that for the Canine Fund and the Christmas shopping project for the children. We also have been notified that, and you've heard this before, that the chief has been trying to get an officer into the AR-15 rifle school to become certified. And we've had some estimates. We actually had the officer enrolled at one time, and then the class was canceled. So the class has come up at Harrisburg Community College. The cost is substantially less than what we have had to deal with in the past. The cost is going to be $300. So these are some end of the year financial obligations that I need to issue checks for before the end of this year.
Enhancing that, Fred, they had the ammunition set aside for the spring class that the virus canceled. That's almost 1,000 rounds for that course. So they already have that in stock. The course they were going to take in the spring was an NRA course. That certification is good for 3 years. The course they're taking now is run by the state police. That certification is lifetime. So not only is it less expensive than the NRA course, we don't have to do it again as long as that officer is employed by our department.
And we're only going to do one officer?
Yes.
Okay.
But at this price, it wouldn't hurt us to put them on a schedule to get more officers trained, would it?
No, it wouldn't. What we've tried to spread, we have one officer who's our use of force instructor. We have one officer who is our handgun instructor. We have one who's our taser instructor. So we're basically trying to keep them all involved with something.
Is this an instructor training or is this just a training?
It's an instructor training.
Oh,
In
okay.
other words, he'll be certified as a police rifle instructor.
Okay.
We already have our own range, so all that training we will be able to do in-house.
Gotcha.
In addition to that, we will be able to do it for other departments that have a need. And of course, they would be charged for that service.
Okay.
Okay, one other item. We did have a check this week from GH Harris, which will be our last check for this year of delinquent occupational taxes. They turned over $1,078 to the borough. The treasurer's report for the month of October. General fund balance, $10,462.23. Rental fund checking, $426.50. I'd like to point out that the mailing packets are done for the landlords. These are the application packets for next year's license applications. We will be sending those out during the first week of December. So there's about $8,000 that comes in from the rental licenses. That money is received in January. Our street lighting account, $708.84. Fire tax account at Mid-Penn, $55,174.53. And our general expense account, our debit card has $2,063.29. The Newville area events account has $5,131.40. The balance in our liquid fuels or highway aid checking account is $14,833.63. In our payroll account, we have $2,566.16. The mayor will cover the police accounts later in the meeting. These are the latest numbers on our pension accounts as of today. The police pension plan assets, $338,912.46. That's $338,912.46. And in the non-uniform pension plan, we have $447,866.85. The joint veterans account, the Banner project, has $946.63. We do have a veteran who's coming in. He's going to make a $300 donation. He does that right before Christmas. He did call and tell me he's coming in. Capital Improvement Fund has $1,467.25, and we have remaining in our tax anticipation account $1,491.57. Talked to Jerry Ann. It looks like she is not taking in, she gave us only about $600 today on delinquent real estate taxes. So this means I don't think you're going to see very much, if anything, from real estate. I think what's going to happen this year, because of the pandemic and people being out of work, they're just going to, the tax bills will go to tax claim. When people get their IRS refunds, or if there's any kind of a stimulus check, they'll run down, they'll pay the past due taxes, and we'll get our money. But right now, it's not. Typically by this time, we have about $25,000 outstanding. And typically in other Decembers, we'd see half of that money by now. And it's not there. It's just not there. She's not optimistic, and I was optimistic, but I think what's going to happen now, it's just it's a sign of the times. It's unusual, but it's a sign of the time.
Fred, did you
Any
give
questions?
different numbers on the pension?
Yes. Yeah,
Can you-
these are the latest numbers. What's on your treasurer's report has changed.
Can you say those again?
Yeah, the non-uniformed, or I'm sorry, the police pension plan is 338,912.46. 338,912.46. Non-uniform pension plan 447,866.85. 447,866.85.
Okay.
We had a deficit in that pension fund, right? I mean, because of the market being down.
We had, it's
How-
improved, Jack. We're not out of the woods yet, but it's improved much. We're not seeing the losses we did back in April and May.
Yeah, I mean, the market's up considerably, but is it that we're not, is it just the returns aren't what they should be over a period of time, or why do we have that deficit?
Well, we don't really have a deficit right now. I mean, what we're seeing is, what's going out is the reason our balances are dropping every month is we have pensioners that we're paying and obligations that we have to pay from those funds. So we are making gains, but not tremendous gains, as you can see from 1 month to the next.
Okay. Yeah, because you had said we might have to, find some more funding at some point to get to whatever the minimum was required.
We
Is
won't
that still the
really
case?
know. We won't know that until we get our pension statements, our evaluation statements from Thomas Anderson in January. That'll be the definitive statement. And that'll look at the entire 2020 year. On the list of bills, Salzman Hughes, COVID information from the Department of Health and DCD. The bill was $90. HAC, the training course for Officer Gutschall. I believe this was an investigative course, $190. News Chronicle, legal advertisements, $294. Ed Mill Fuels, Public Works Fuel, $353.96. Irwin and McKnight EDA Solicitor Services for October, $412.50. Irwin and McKnight Borough Solicitor Services for October, $1,110. Raybold Services, speed equipment calibration, $60 for the police cars. Sailors Market, Borough Supplies, water and cleaning supplies, $30.85. C&H Industrial, the lease of the skid loader, $922.83. Hip and Steel Auto Service, the Dodge Charger had snow tires mounted, was serviced and inspected, $113.93. Hilton's Lock Service, cut new keys and changed locks on the concession stand, $115. Higher Information Group, copy leases and surcharges, $374. The Galata Group EDA project manager for October, $1,524.50.
That's okay.
Martin and Martin EDA, excuse me,
Friday.
EDA engineering for Martin and Martin, $257. H&H Service Center,
Well,
flush
I know.
transmission on the Chevy pickup truck for Public Works, $146.81. Boston Mutual Life, our disability and life insurance, $298.67. PA Code Alliance, October Code Enforcement and Zoning Services, $2,583.60. Chamberlain Wingert Sanitation, the bill for the services at the park. Restrooms, $295. Total general fund bills, $9,172.65. We had one bill, which you don't often see, from our rental fund, $74 for the cost of printing the applications for the 2021 rental license. In highway aid, we have a bill from Barrick Tire to repair a flat tire on the skid loader, $29.95. Timothy Barrick repaired the GMC dump truck and bucket truck, and performed inspections on those trucks, $696.59. Dave ordered some supplies to repair signs. We had a few signs that had been damaged by truck and car accidents, 754.34. Barrick tire, the forced tires for the skid loader would be $1,015.80. Total bills for highway aid, $2,496.68. We did receive a check today for $155 for one of the signs that was damaged. Any questions on the list of bills?
Fred, the bill for the course at Hack, I believe that's the course that Officer Gutschall was unable to go to. I
Okay.
think the chief sent them a day, or an email one day before the course started, indicating that he would not be able to attend because he was in quarantine.
Okay, so taking that bill off reduces the bill list. It's $8,982.65.
I
Thank
would,
you, Mayor.
I'll confirm that, but I just wouldn't have that bill on the list for payment tonight because I'm pretty sure that is the interview and interrogation course at Hack that he was not able to attend.
Nope.
That's all that I have, unless anyone has any questions on the finances or anything we've discussed here tonight.
I just want to make sure I got the additional new business items. So permission to close offices is one. Approve the purchase of the tires for the skid loader is another. Approve final pay for the trailhead improvements is one. And we're going to discuss the replacement of the drinking fountain, but we're not going to take action tonight. We're also going to, I know it's above under administration, but recommend the final adoption for the taxes and budgets. Anything else I missed?
Now, I would say if you approve the list of bills, you'll take care of the bill for the tires.
Okay, so we don't need to do that one. Anything else?
No, we, just to make everyone aware, on December 19th, you know, it's a bad year. A lot of things have been canceled. We do have Santa Claus coming to town. One of the Kiwanians is going to dress up. Jerry Gilbert has donated his gator. We have a donation of candy canes for the kids. Every child or anyone that comes in contact with Santa on that day will receive a box of candy canes. We will be publishing a list of the streets and the times that we will be on the streets, so that hopefully, you know, children will know, parents will know Santa Claus is coming around. We're not asking for the Borough Council to endorse this or approve it tonight. I don't think we need it for the following reasons. Number one, no borough equipment is going to be used. If we get an escort, it'll be the mini pumper from the fire company. The vehicle that we're using is loaned. The driver is loaned. All of the candy items have been donated, and we have no street closings. So we just want to do this as a group of some concerned residents who came together and would like to do this for the kids in town in light of, you know, the bicycle giveaway, the raffle, the Veterans Christmas service, all those things have been canceled this year. That's all that I have, Scott.
Anybody have anything else?
Can I ask something about the parking ordinance? Well, I don't know, did Lucy get in contact with you, Fred?
She asked me when we adopted this and I didn't respond because we haven't adopted it yet.
Okay,
She
well,
wanted to know when the ordinance was adopted.
okay. Well, I talked to her the other night. I was down at the church and we kind of met on the street there. And she asked me about the street, no parking on the west side of West Street. She said, she always thought you could park along like the fence area, of the playground where the sidewalk is now. And I thought you couldn't, but she said that people used to park there, but now we're saying that you're not even going to be able to park there anymore.
That's correct.
Okay, because she thought that it was going to be the same as her side of the street, just during school hours.
No, the chief came to council with a recommendation to make no parking there. And if you recall, he simply said it would be a continuation of the no parking that already exists along Zion Church side of the building.
Okay,
So he suggested that we make no parking from Cove Avenue all the way out to Green Street, Steelstown Road.
Steelstown Road, okay.
And that's what council agreed to. Now,
Okay.
the only reason the signs are up now is
Mhm.
because remember I told you that the
Mhm.
company was coming in to do painting and they
Right,
put the signs up and we could have everything done at one
Right.
time, or we could call them back and have another bill
Right,
and we agreed
right,
to put the signs
right.
up.
right. Well, I
So-
told her I would find out for sure. So thank you for that information.
Yeah, it was,
Mhm.
and in the past, Joey, if we had events like Halloween and Fountain Festival,
Right,
Todd did allow people to park down there and
Okay.
it was always tight, but he did allow people to park.
right.
His recommendation is now that if you're going to do this, make it uniform throughout.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Bob Darius.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Joey.
Anything else?
Don't think so.
All right. Then let's get a motion to adjourn this and we'll go into the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Yes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. All right, see you in a few minutes.
Okay.